Welcome everyone to today's webinar. This is your moderator, Jessica Ng speaking, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for Alive and Kicking, How You Can Drive Direct Mail Results in 2014. As a marketing professional myself, I can surely relate to those of you on the call today who are trying to do more with less. I think it's safe to say that's probably most, if not all of us. Today, more than ever, we're all trying to figure out the best mix of marketing tactics to help us drive measurable results for our business and organizations. I'm excited about today's session because I know you'll gain some great insights from today's webinar. So a few housekeeping items before we begin. Again, I'm Jessica Ng, representing today's sponsors, Allegra, Insty-Prints, and American Speedy Printing Centers, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. I'll introduce our esteemed speaker in just a moment, but wanted to mention a few things before we begin. Please note that all attendees are in listen-only mode so that we can get a clean recording of today's session. The recorded webinar will be available to you within 24 hours on the website www.allegranetwork.com under the Resources tab. Feel free to ask questions throughout the session by using your chat box on the side of your screen. We'll be addressing all the questions at the end, and any question we might not get to, we will follow up with you personally. Before we begin, I'd like to briefly mention the sponsors of today's webinar. Today's session is brought to you by Allegra, Insty-Prints, and American Speedy Printing Centers. And each of these businesses provides a one-stop resource for communication strategies with measurable results. We help hundreds of clients across North America with everything from graphic design and copywriting to printing and mailing, as well as email marketing and website development and optimization. In essence, we really bring you, our customers, the best of both worlds. Each Allegra, Insty-Prints, and American Speedy Printing location is independently owned and operated, providing the responsiveness and service of a local partner in your community. But we're also connected to the resources of a large, experienced 300-member network and can access the deep and extensive resources, talents, and tools that we collectively have, all available to help you reach your business goals in your local market. So rest assured, if you need assistance with anything discussed in today's webinar, we can help. So now that you know the sponsors, let's get to know today's speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce Beth Smith. Beth is an award-winning 35-year direct marketing veteran. She is the creator and educational director for the DMA's Direct Marketing Institute, and she's instructed over 10,000 professionals through her direct marketing seminars. She also sat on the DMA Board of Directors Executive Committee for the past 3 years. Beth is the recipient of the prestigious Edward Mayer Award given by the Direct Marketing Educational Foundation for lifetime contribution to the advancement of direct marketing. She's a wealth of knowledge, clearly one of the best in the field of direct marketing, and we're thrilled to have her with us today to share her insights with all of you.
What? Are you
so without further ado,
I click, it gives me this.
Here's Beth Smith.
First of all, we need to be setting the record straight in terms of how direct mail measures up and how it plays in today's digital world. The second thing we're going to talk about is how to build the strongest possible foundation for your marketing in all channels. This will apply to direct mail, but also any other channel you're using for direct marketing. The third thing we're going to cover is how to create an irresistible offer, because as a direct marketer, our goal is to get a response, and we need to melt away inertia. And I also want to show you some irresistible offers that will drive your competitors crazy when you're out there too, because we need to have people pay attention to our presentations, our offers. Now, what direct mail format delivers best? We're going to drill down into the creative elements and some things. I've got some statistics for you. I've got some good examples, a lot of examples in terms of how people are using direct mail very effectively to drive their marketing results. And then the last thing we'll finish with are the three components, the three key elements that all promotions must have to be successful. So let's start out setting the record straight here. In the area of direct, I mentioned this before, direct marketers want to get a response for their marketing investment. We want to know that people are actually not just listening to us, but actually responding and buying or, asking for more information or coming to our website or coming to our store or retail establishment as well. So let's look at where all the spend in direct and digital is going, because people have the ability to vote with their budgets. Marketers spend their money where they're getting the best return. Now, the Winterberry Group does an annual outlook that just came out, and what it showed is that out of the 140, almost $1 billion that's being spent in direct and digital, 32% of all that budget is being spent in direct mail. That's over $45 billion, and estimated to grow at least $500 million to another $1 billion in the next 12 months. Now, second, teleservices. So there we have about 60% of the budget dollars that are being spent. So use of telemarketing is still a very big factor, and that may surprise some people because there's so much press being given to what's going on in terms of digital, activities these days. Search marketing. That's 16% of all spend, so supporting people that are looking for your product when they raise their hands and say, I'm interested in something, supporting search there. Display ads, those are what many of you call banner ads. Banner ads are a big part of it for both general advertisers as well as direct marketers in terms of spend. Other digital falls into affiliate marketing, social media. Insert media, we've heard certainly billing statement stuffers. We know freestanding inserts, that might be sent, or blow-ins that might be sent in the catalog. And then the last part is just other, and other may be out-of-home types of promotions as well. Now, I want to drill down further. This is where the direct marketing and digital marketing is being spent, but I want to talk about local also, because I know we may have a number of attendees that are really focused on marketing to people that are within, say, 25 miles of their offices or so, somewhere in the 30-mile range. And BIA Kelsey does the local ad dollars, and that's all advertising spend. And you see it's not just 32% of spend, it's actually 43% of spend. So that's the most recent data that they had from 2012, but they forecast out 5 years. And the reason I'm showing you this is that they're forecasting that in 5 years, even with growth of another $4 billion on local ad spend, that direct mail will still be around 43% of all spend. Now, some of the other allocations are changing, as you can see, but it's very important to realize that this is not a short-lived phenomenon. And I think most people at this point are saying, well, why? I mentioned that companies and marketers vote with their dollars in terms of where they spend them. They spend them where they're getting the best return. And let's talk about 6 really important traits that direct mail has that are important in today's marketing environment. Now, this ad was sent out to promote use of direct mail. It says if you really want to touch someone, send them a letter. And the truth is, there's no question that touch is a big part of the reason that direct mail is successful. But let's start with the most important reasons first, and then we'll get into the concepts of engagement. First of all, it just has a higher response rate. Now, I've got research from both the U.S. and Canada that show that response rates are higher, that action rates are higher. The Direct Marketing Association is media agnostic, meaning they don't favor any one channel over another. They are about the strategy of direct marketing, but they measure what happens by different media. So one of the things that their research that was published in the 2013 Statistical Fact Book shows us is that direct mail, even though more expensive on a cost per contact basis than digital channels, it's competitive in its cost per order or cost per lead basis, meaning return on investment. And that's how you should judge your marketing budget, not just by cost per contact, because that doesn't yield a productivity analysis. What we want to do is focus on return on investment. Response rates for direct mail, were seen to be 30 times higher than those for email in their research. So for every one response from email, there were 30 responses for the direct mail effort. In Canada, looking at retail, because we looked at retail information in terms of the U.S. and local spend on the last slide, but Canadian research, 61% of Canadians made a purchase at retail because of direct mail advertising. And they compared that in the Canada Post Direct Mail Omnibus study to the use of website advertising and email, and they found that it was twice the results in terms of driving retail purchases via direct mail. So we know that those, are key factors in higher response rates. That's what the name of our game is, which is to get people to respond to us. Now the why. Well, physicality is one of the major reasons. Millward Brown Research did some extensive analysis using neuroscience. They actually put people in scanners and looked at their brain activity to determine how people react when they're presented with messages in different channels. And when you look at printed pieces, you see that those red marks in the brain are where the brain activity really lit up, where the brain was engaged. And if you look at the blue on this is when they were looking at virtual messages. And virtual messages mean I'm looking on my monitor, I'm looking on my phone, but I'm not specifically holding a piece of printed material to look at. Their analysis was simply that printed pieces show more brain engagement than do virtual messages. Now, another reason, another trait that direct mail has that's extremely important is the flexibility and the engagement factor of different formats. You can adapt these formats to your audience. You can adapt them to your ROI, so you can make them less expensive if it's a low-value audience. You can make them much more engaging and much more personal if it's a very high-value audience. You can adjust it. I think this promotion from Toyota really does kind of personify what's great about the engagement value of direct mail. It focuses your attention on it. They were launching the Yaris, and they sent this mailing out. Now, many of us have heard lots of TV ads and lots of different types of ads about new cars, and it's spine-tingling to drive them, it's hair-raising, it's exciting, and that's a lot of what they focus on in cars. Well, they decided to demonstrate this. And if you lift the bottom of this mailer, right in the corner, you can see that they intended you to lift it, peel it up. So when you peel that up, what you're actually doing is peeling off an electrostatic layer. And this electrostatic layer gives new meaning to the concept of hair raising, because held over your arm, it actually draws your hair up to it. So that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to get test drives. So you can say it's spine-tingling, you say it's hair-raising, you say it's exciting, but this was an incredibly engaging way. Now, adding this technique to their direct mail, using this concept of engagement and the format, lifted their response by 20%. So something that we always want to consider when we're using direct mail, let's use it for its strength. And one of the strengths is the physicality, the format, the engagement factor. Another key trait, list availability. Now, universe size is one part of that. Geographic market coverage. Both Canada Post and the U.S. Postal Service have made it very easy to reach out into your entire geographic marketplace and to contact people that are good prospects. Every door direct mail, the targeting aspects in terms of precision targeter for Canada Post. Now, I'm going to talk more about list because they're a fundamental aspect of being successful, but let me go on with a couple more traits first. This is a very big in the news headlines issue right now. People have become a bit afraid online. Now, it's not that they're going to completely desert online, and I would never even pretend that, but there's a sense of risk. Whenever I put personal information online, Canada, one of the things that is that you've got a big new spam bill that's just going to take effect, this law, in July. And people that do not give you express permission to email them, it's punishable by up to a $10 million fine. So we've got a lot of concern by individuals and by government in terms of the risk factor of online. there's really no comparable risk factor. There's a low nuisance factor, a low threat factor in terms of direct mail, and so that is a unique trait. People don't worry about viruses in that. Now, another unique trait is the noise factor. When I'm on a website, I'm going to be confronted with lots of flashing banner ads. If I'm reading my email, if I'm using one of the email service providers like Gmail or others, I'm going to see other ads for other products and services when I'm in my inbox. I'm going to see all that stack of emails I haven't yet answered. But when you're dealing with your direct mail, it tends to be a piece-by-piece basis. This study that was done by BrandSpark, when people were asked what kind of advertising do you actually find useful, online banner ads, online search ads, and emails came in around 10% or less. TV ads came in roughly in the middle when we were looking at that. So you see the TV ads about 12%. Direct mail, and especially coupons, very popular in terms of getting people engaged, over 20%. And then that really physically engaging part of direct mail sampling, that was up over 40%. In comparable research that's been done in the U.S., you see that 70 to 80% of people collect their mail every day, and it's something they look forward to in terms of seeing what's in the mail. So there's a low threat aspect to that, a low nuisance factor, and a low noise factor. The sixth trait is long shelf life, and this is something that you can build into your direct mail campaigns. This heating, air conditioning, ventilation company basically built in shelf life by providing a magnet in their mailer. And that magnet, would go on your furnace, or it would go on your refrigerator or file cabinet in the house, so that if you ever needed them, you could call them. And then what they were doing is trying to continue to engage people, and even when they're not actively involved in the product or actively involved in a promotion, continue to have a long-term relationship with them. The American Humane Society knows that most of the people who donate to them also have pets, and they're the kind of person that thinks their pets are members of family. So one of the things that they did in their mail is create shelf life by providing a decal that would go on the window that told, in case of fire, we've got 2 dogs, or we have 3 cats, or other birds or pets or fish that we would love, for you to please save, help us. And even Google uses direct mail. This is what we call dimensional mail. This is a box. It's actually a box that was sent to companies, and in this recipient, the company name was apparent. And there's a keychain here. And I said, you're going to find out the key to transforming the way people work. And they were promoting their products that are paid services for collaboration. And that Google keychain meant that that was going to stay around for a while. And just 2 or 3 days later, this arrived in the mail, and used that key to unlock the box. So unlock the secrets of how collaboration and good ideas come from collaboration. And I guarantee you there's people walking around with those Google keychains today. If you need more proof that direct mail, not just budget spend, not just the good traits, all you have to do is look at some of the most famous names in marketing today, and especially those e-commerce marketers from Google to Amazon to eBags to Dell, and that's just scratching the surface in terms of the number of people that actually do use direct mail. Okay, so let's get into how we use it effectively. The truth is, it's like choosing between your children. We're not saying one child's better than the other all the time, but what we're saying is, as a family, we're stronger. So the best solution is not an either-or with any channel. It's actually multi-channel marketing. So in a test that was done with active customers from an office supply company, testing using email only to an audience versus email plus direct mail, when email only was used, there was a response. But one of the challenges we're having today is that not everyone opens their emails and not everyone gives us their email address. So by adding direct mail to those active customers as well, the response rate went up by 600%. And the revenue that was generated went up by 584%, even though they added an expensive contact to it. The combination of the two was the strongest. And that's what most marketers have found, that it's a multi-channel world. We shouldn't be thinking one shot. We should be thinking campaigns. Now, whenever we talk about multi-channel marketing, we have to talk about synergy. Synergy means speaking with one voice. When all the elements of your campaign work together, they're stronger. So here's a nonprofit example. The Cancer Society, wanting to help, have you help beat breast cancer, created this campaign called Making Strides. And it was a walk, and not just walk, but get people to support you in your walk and get donations to help support the defeat of cancer. So to acquire new customers, they used a lot of awareness, billboards, transit ads, posters in different locations. They used freestanding inserts in the newspaper. They used radio ads as well to create some awareness for that, to attract new walkers, new people that would participate with them. They also used online advertising for that. Now, in terms of direct contact, they went back to people that had walked in the past, had signed up, had supported the effort. So they used email. They also used direct mail, used as a combination. Now what you're seeing here is you see each of these elements unfold, is you're actually seeing the synergy, the one voice, making strides. You see this similar use of images and words so that the campaign elements work together, they're stronger. They followed up the direct mail because it was a major driver of the revenue. They also followed up in the email. And the combination of that, then it's not that they hadn't used these channels before. They had used these channels, but they had never made them all work together, speaking with one voice. And this campaign, the single voice, the coordination of message, lifted response by 15% over what they've been able to achieve in the past. So we know how very important the single voice is. The foundation of direct marketing. How do we make sure that every message that we have is strong? Well, the foundation starts with the list or the audience. The second element is the offer or proposition, and the third element is the creative execution. Now you see how the applied percentage is here. This is what we refer to as the 40-40-20 rule. Now this concept has been around for decades, and sometimes people will adjust it a little bit here or there. I would have actually given a little more of a percentage to list than to offers, because the one lesson that I have learned is that even though 80% of your success is in your list and your offer, you will never be successful if you send your promotion to the wrong people. So even the most brilliant creative or even the strongest offer will fail if it doesn't go to the right person. And that's why I told you I'm going to spend a little more time in terms of talking about list. Then we're going to get into offer and then the creative execution. Just remember, many people who are new to the use of direct marketing, creating direct mail pieces, they spend all their time here in the creative execution. Creative is important, how we say it is important, but it can't shine until we actually have the right audience and the right offer. And an offer is everything the buyer and the seller are going to do for each other. So we're going to drill down into offers in just a minute. First, let's talk about list. It's a little bit like the old adage about what are the three top rules in real estate, and it's location, location, location. Well, with list, it's get the best possible list, the best targeted list that you can. Now, the best list, you're going to get the highest response from your customers. And active customers, they're going to generate more response for you generally than inactive customers. But inactive customers will probably generate more response than simply prospects. Now, prospects I refer to as leads or inquiries, people that have contacted you, raised their hand, said I'm interested in more information. Maybe they've asked you for a catalog, they've asked you for a quote, whatever market you're in. They've said, maybe I want to participate in the walk. So a person that participates in that charity walk is a prospect. They might then donate to your cause as well. And the third level are suspects. Now, these are people we think should be interested in our product or service. And you're going to have your best luck with suspects or those rental lists that you can get when you model them against your best customers. So we want to clone our customers. We want to look at the people that look like our best customers. We want to find prospects and suspects that look like our best customers as well. So I'm just going to paint a couple of examples just so that you can see, just scratching the surface of the types of lists that are available out there. There are more than 60,000 lists available in the marketplace today. Everything from Canadian dentists and buyers of medical supplies and beauty and health supply prospects to college students and consumers and teachers and donors to different causes. there's so many different lists that are available out there. The key is to find the list that's going to work for you. So it's very important to test your list, test carefully, and to really dig down. Now let's move to the offer. This is what I'd love people to say about any offer I send them. I'd be crazy if I ignore this offer. So what are the components of an offer, and why do we make an offer? Now, an offer is everything the buyer and the seller are going to do for each other. And the goal of an offer, or the reason we make an offer, is to melt away inertia. Now, inertia is what stops people from responding. And we have a tough job in direct marketing in that we want people to change their behavior. We don't just want them to change their opinion about us. We want them to actually take an action. So here are 4 components that build an irresistible offer. First of all, what do you have that no one else has? Sometimes it's referred to as a unique selling proposition. It means that I can differentiate myself from the competitors. Now, this ad says there's never, ever been a golf glove like this one. It's not just a campaign slogan or a tagline. It actually was designed by orthopedic surgeons specifically for people that have arthritis pain in their hands. So it's going to give that arthritic golfer a chance to improve their game, maybe get back into the game if they've been in so much pain they couldn't play golf for a while. So I've got something no one else has. That's where a good offer starts, how you've differentiated yourself. The second element is the use of incentives, and gifts are often used, or extra services. It might be free technical support or free installation, but a gift. This nursery was selling rose bushes and wanted to sell quite a few of them, and they said if you bought a certain quantity, we're going to give you this really nice set of bypass pruners. Now, bypass pruners are really for people that grow flowers. They're the kind of pruner that cuts at an angle and it doesn't squeeze off the stem. So it's a perfect gift that would incent people that would be interested in buying rose bushes to actually respond to you. So tie gifts to your product or service to have the best result and best longevity in terms of the retention of those customers. Now, the third element is conditions, a free trial, a money-back guarantee. Those are different kinds of what are often called a conditional sale. CenturyLink says they're going to give me high-speed internet service, and they guarantee a price lock. For 5 years, they won't raise their prices to me. So, that's an incentive, a reason to respond now. And the fourth element is the one element that some people go to first. They put it on sale. Okay, so price and payment terms, they've got their rules. No payment until August. That has an appeal for people that want to buy now and maybe couldn't afford to pay all of it at this time. But I really like the added value types of offers. Not just I'll discount my membership by 25%, but buy a year's membership and get 3 bonus months. That's 15 months for the price of 12. The reason I like those kinds of offers is because they tend to attract full-price buyers who are interested in getting more value. And we find that they often are easier to retain. So, think in terms of your offers, test a variety of offers. Different expressions of an offer will have different response rates. So let's look at an irresistible offer. I love this offer because they really solved their problem in a very effective way and built continuity of relationship with customers. Car dealerships have a challenge, and that challenge is that half of their revenue comes from the service department, and it's actually 80 to 90% of the dealer's profits. New car sales are not as much of a profit factor as many people think. So, what's the challenge? 60 to 70% of customers are being lost every year. Why? Because we think, well, we can get it cheaper if we use maybe a local car repair place or car service place. And they knew that. So, what's the obvious offer? Sometimes the obvious offer is to discount it. But if you just said, I'm going to put it on sale for 15% off, you might get people to respond once, and would they come back? So what we want to do is try to think in terms of offers that will be irresistible and that will build good lifetime value too. So their objective was to retain existing customers because these are people that know them. They wanted to recapture those lost customers that had gone to other service providers, and they wanted to acquire new customers. And yes, there's a list for that. There are car buyers out there, so you can pick them by luxury car buyers, other types of buyers as well. So what did they do? They made a great offer. Not just 15% off. They said, we're inviting you to become our preferred customer. And we're going to give you a $1,000 savings card that you can use in the next year. And it will be applied at 15% off of any service and parts up to $1,000. Now, what does that do? It means that if someone used the entire $1,000 in savings, they would have spent close to $7,000 with this dealership. So it increases their loyalty and retention. They sweetened it with, and as a preferred customer, we give our preferred customers weekly car washes for free. Another thing they did, when you activated the card with your first service, we're going to give you a free oil and filter change, tire rotation, and inspection. Now, how did they use direct mail? Well, they used it to acquire customers to this preferred program. So they went to their existing customers, their inactive customers, and they went to prospects to get them to sign up for this preferred program. They fulfilled the cards to people that had heard about it, went on the web to sign up. And they used it for monthly offers to customers that were not signed up for their emails. How they used the online channel, you could sign up online. They had monthly statements that they would email you and other special offers. And they also allowed you to check your account balance. Now, what was the result of this campaign? Well, the return on this marketing investment, every $1 that they spent on this marketing effort generated $30 in revenue for them. Remember, always think in terms of lifetime value, always think in terms of retention of customer, and always test your offers. Things we know about offers, they need to be simple. They need to be compelling. Here are a few interesting offers. GEICO, we've heard it on TV, we've read it in our mail, we've seen it in magazines. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. I've always said that GEICO's promotions are not about really selling car insurance, they're about selling a phone call, getting you to call them, okay? Because they want you to call them. They've got a great way to convince you to become a customer if you do. Simple to understand. Chico's clothing store, right before Mother's Day, sends out this clear the racks with a clear conscience. 60% off in terms of our sale merchandise for you as one of our valued customers. Now that's pretty simple, pretty compelling, pretty easy to understand. Google, they're going to invest in our success as small businesses. Many of you have probably gotten their direct mail. Get $100 free when you spend $25. Hydro One utility, it's the summer to save energy. And after the terrible winter we've all had, I know a lot of people are thinking during this summer, I'd sure like to cut my utility bills. Very strong offer for them. Sign up for Peak Saver Plus and get a free programmable thermostat, and that's a $250 value. Very simple, very easy to understand messaging. H&R Block, hey, we're going to find the money that others miss. We'll give you a free second look. All of these offers are compelling. They're very simple. They're very engaging. They're going to get people to respond. Okay, we spent some time on lists and offers. Let's switch over to talk about creative and creative elements. 6 major industry trends that I want to share with you. And this is from a source called Who's Mailing What, and they are an archive of direct mail that's used. And they have tens of thousands of pieces, and they have pieces that are collected on a regular basis. And envelope mailings or self-mailers are the 2 major trends in terms of use of direct mail. Now, I did mention 3-dimensional mail. I showed you a couple of examples. The 2 major formats are envelope mailings or self-mailers. Now, an envelope mailing means it came in an envelope. When we find marketers using envelope mailers, usually there's either emotional content or a complicated offer that benefits from multiple inserts, people going for a long-term sale, or maybe they're marketing to a very upscale audience. So the industries where envelopes dominate, insurance, 86% of insurance mailings in terms of their trend report use envelope mailings. Looking at financial services, 80%, nonprofits, 95%. Now, other issues about envelopes is a sense of privacy. Healthcare, that's a privacy issue. Sexual preference, that's a privacy issue as well. So those are issues that often are used in terms of envelope mailers too. Self-mailers. Self-mailers don't go into an envelope. It means that it mails itself. So a postcard is a self-mailer, a catalog is a self-mailer, a trifold, a flyer. Those are examples of self-mailers. So the industries where they dominate, usually traffic building, lead generation. So we see retail in terms of traffic building, both for websites as well as retail establishments. We see travel, using them, a lot of travel catalogs, travel flyers and mailers, and professional services. You see 75% of professional services mail that was received by this archive were self-mailers. Now, if you think real estate, that's an example of professional service, and many of you are familiar with the real estate postcards that you've been sent. So let's look at when you use them together. Here's an example where a heating, ventilation, air conditioning company used a combination of self-mailer and direct mail format, which was an envelope mailer, based on the return on investment of the audience. Now, the target audience for this selling of services as well as new heating and air conditioning systems are women. Women make a lot of the decisions, or influencers in a lot of home decisions, yard care, in this case, heating and ventilation, certainly shopping for the home. And the challenge is that this quarter we're in right now is very slow for these companies. The goals, they wanted to sell new equipment, and they also wanted to get people to do tune-ups. They wanted to keep their staff busy. They didn't want to have any staff layoffs. So the highest value target audience, these are people that might need a replacement unit. So customers that had older equipment, maybe 10 or more years old. So the offer that they made to them was a free home comfort analysis with a tune-up if you would allow them to give you a quote. So that was a $99 value, and that's what you see on the outside of the envelope. And then the offer was a real, boy, I'd be crazy if I don't take advantage of this if I've got old equipment. A free furnace when you buy an air conditioner. They used a personalized letter mailing for that. So a free furnace you're going to get with this offer, when you buy an air conditioner. So very strong, compelling offer. And because the high value, thousands of dollars, they used an envelope because of the return on investment. Now the second audience were existing customers, had equipment, but it was less than 10 years old, probably wouldn't replace it, but might need some service or a repair. So more likely to need that service and repair. They made a $50 offer for service repair on that. And they used a lower cost self-mailer because return on investment was going to be lower. So free $50 gift card, high impact, strong offer there. When every penny counts, $50 counts more. If we look at the results on this during this low period, they ended up having a 19% increase in equipment sales. They had a 64% increase in terms of service appointments. Okay, let's move into the creative elements. Let's talk about what makes your promotion successful beyond the format that you choose. So if we talk about creative elements, we have to get their attention. Attracting attention is one of the most important elements to any kind of promotion you're going to send out. The second element is relevance to the individual, and the third is call to action. So let me show you how these play in terms of the direct mail world. Did we attract their attention? Did we give them a reason not to throw this away without really considering it, without reading it, or without opening it? So Omaha Steak says, hey, there's a gift certificate enclosed. There's something of value in that envelope. Terminex says your home is 10 times more likely to get hit by termites than fire. And I'll bet we all have fire insurance. It makes you stop and think about the importance of having termite insurance. So schedule your no-obligation termite inspection now. Okay, very high impact, very engaging, reason not to throw it away. World Vision uses this technique in Canada as well as the U.S. They use what we call the lumpy and bumpy effect, and that works in all channels. It works in business marketing. You saw the key chain that was used with Google. It works in consumer marketing as well. But in this case, the reason it's lumpy and bumpy is they're asking partners to help them feed people that are struggling from famine in Africa. And what they're doing is they're providing you with an incentive. Now, this is a premium, but this premium we call a freemium, and it's a bounce back. So you're going to actually sign this and send it back with your donation. But that's what made the package lumpy and bumpy. Impossible to throw away something if you feel like there's something of value inside. So using the physicality of that piece. And sometimes just a very personal-looking approach. That may be the best way to engage. I can't tell what it is. Doesn't look like advertising. Now, never use a technique like this to trick people. Use it to engage them, to intrigue them. This is a great look for an invitation to an event. It's a great look for a special offer to someone that's unique, or a customer relationship building communication. But we don't want to just stick a sell flyer in there, because that would let them down. They're expecting something more personal from that. But these are all reasons to pay attention, not to throw it away. The second thing you need, first of all, I've got to get their attention. The second thing is I need to be relevant to them, because I need to take that attention and I need to translate that into interest. So they'll start to engage with my message. Now, TD Bank wants its customers to have a bigger relationship. So maybe you only have a checking account. I want you to have a savings account. I want you to start investing for your retirement, maybe set you up for a mortgage. So one of the ways they found, and the offers they make, is a consultation. We're going to give you a complimentary assessment. And they make this to selected customers. Now, one thing they've done this over the years, but one thing they realized is that if you're a young adult between 25 and 35, your interest in saving or retirement is much more limited than if you're older. So the message to this audience, they segmented the groups. They message them differently. Start small, invest regularly, see where it takes you. Now, that's relevant to that audience. Now, another audience example, pre-retirees, people that were between 45 and 64. Those audiences were much more interested in when can I retire? Have I saved enough? So the message to them was, when can this be my full-time job? And you see the imaging is different as well. Now, there were other audiences, which were families with children. So each audience received a relevant message. And as a result, they lifted their response by 25%. That's the importance of relevance of the message to the audience. So always think in terms of what could be the most relevant thing I can say. Don't just advertise your product. Engage in terms of relevant communication. So what are the most powerful words in marketing that you can use in a creative world? Many people think the word sale or free or new or easy, those are the most important words, and those words do have their place in marketing, but the most impactful word actually is about you. And this envelope becomes irresistible to open when it's got your name on it, and that is the power of personalization. Now, the reason this is powerful is that it creates impact. I can't leave it alone. I can't throw it away. I'm going to have to open it. But it's expressly relevant to Jessica, because Jessica is a marketing professional, and marketing professionals want to be successful in their job. That's how they feel good about their jobs. That's how they get promotions as well. So it's bragging rights too. So I don't want you to think that just putting somebody's name on a promotional piece is enough, because that's not the message here. The message is it relevant? How do I leverage my relationship with them? What can I say that's going to be really powerful? Your use of personalization should be gauged that it would lift your response by 10 to 50% or more. Now, I've seen relevant personalization lift response by anywhere from 50% to 600% by having really quality information. Now, here's just such an example of relevance in terms of the use of personalization. This is a business marketer. This is a company that markets to people to help them automate their payroll. And so there's a personal-looking envelope, and when you open it, it looks like a green card. It says, every hour is precious. And when you open that, it says, and every hour missed means dollars lost. And then they get right into the message. We both know how valuable time is, and hours lost to timesheet errors and buddy punching and manual payroll processes can cost, and it had their company name in it, and this specific company, they estimated $79,000. Now, that's the kind of personalization that makes a huge impact, because this is definitely worth their time to engage. So we want to invite you for a webinar. It's a private 20-minute webinar, and they included a personal URL, which is really, URLs work great when there really is personal information, and they reinforce that personal level of value in terms of how much you could save. Each of these have been calculated based on the number of employees. And they closed this out. They completed that loop in the back end there by having the information available to them. Okay, So making sure that it's close with. Now look at the synergy as well. Taking you from offline to online, you see the use of imaging, you see the use of words of messaging that are very similar, and you see the ease of response by having your name and your information there in order to register for this webinar. So the third element that all promotions must have is a call to action. So please don't forget to ask for the order. I see so many offers that simply make announcements, and they don't actually tell you why you should act now and what's the most urgent reason for you to act now. So first of all, restate the most compelling reason to act now. Now, we looked at some elements earlier of this Making Strides campaign by the Cancer Society. It said when you raise money to help the Cancer Society lead this fight, you give our loved ones facing cancer somewhere to turn, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You help give women access to the mammograms that they need to stay healthy, and you make groundbreaking research happen. Asking for the order? Please sign up today. Be a part of your incredible Making Strides event. And personalizing it, you'd say where that event is, in Albany, or in Minneapolis, or in Detroit. Then take a little walk that makes a big, big difference. Okay. Highlight your response option. Always tell them how to respond. Always tell them what you want them to do and how to do it. Directive language works. It's easy to register at makingstrideswalk.org or call this 800 number now. And thank you for joining in the fight to save women's lives. Now, one thing I want to tell you is that if you give people more than one way to respond, you generally get more responses. Not everyone wants to respond in the same channel. So that's one of the lessons we find. Urgency, if you have a specific deadline, there was a deadline on that sale from Chico's. I was going to miss out on all those great deals unless I responded quickly, so there was a sense of urgency. There's a sense of urgency. If you're losing $79,000 a year, that can make a big difference to a lot of small businesses. And this one just, yes, I will sign up today to walk in Making Strides because I want to join my friends and neighbors to raise money on the fight to end breast cancer. Now, it's not just call to action, it's close the sale. So let's complete this loop. We can't control how people will respond. Some people will walk in with a flyer to a retail establishment. Other people will go online. Other people will pick up the phone and call you. So make sure that you support your campaigns online as well. And in this case, the Cancer Society had a landing page. In fact, they had a full microsite there where you could sign up for your walk and sign up members of your team. And again, the imagery, very similar to all the imagery that you saw in terms of the promotion. It's a disconnect. If I don't see the words, if I don't really see reflected the images that you've used to intrigue me, then I'm not going to respond in the same way. I think I've disconnected. I've gone to the wrong place. Now, the Cancer Society does more than breast cancer, so their homepage wasn't completely taken over with a walk, but they did provide a link that was highly visible on that homepage. So the simple thing to do, have a landing page, but also provide a link in terms of your homepage if you've got a major campaign going out. Okay, so let's just kind of recap the things I've talked about here, and then we'll open it up for questions. If you want to kick up your direct mail results, first of all, capitalize on the physicality of direct mail. Remember, that's its strength. Make sure that you target your efforts and also think about building shelf life into your promotions so that they'll hang around for a while. The second thing that we talked about is how to choose the right format. I gave you some examples of trends in terms of industries, but make sure, if you have any doubts, that you're testing. Higher value audiences, higher return on investment products tend to be more likely to be promoted with envelope promotions, traffic building, low-value products, lead generation, self-mailers. Integrate mail into your multi-channel approach. Make sure you create campaign synergy. I don't want you to think one shot. I want you to think campaign. Speak with one voice. That's the approach to making it more successful. Make sure that you've built the right foundation. A strong foundation means that I've got the audience right and I've got the offer right. So I'm making the right offer to the right audience. And make sure that you make the most of each promotion. And that means attract their attention. That's what your creative is all about. First, I've got to get their attention. They're going to give me about 3 to 5 seconds to get their attention, and that's true in any channel. First, I've got to get their attention. Second thing, I've got to get their interest. They'll give me another 20 seconds or so to review my message and see if this is relevant, if this is really as relevant as they thought it was. And then I've got a chance to close the sale. So don't make sure that you don't forget to close the sale. A strong call to action, and then we close the sale. I hope I provided you with some interesting examples and some things that will kind of jumpstart your campaigns this year and maybe jumpstart your thinking process. And I'm going to turn it back to Jessica now because we're going to open it up for some questions.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that was chock full of all different types of ideas. And for me personally, I love the concept of speaking with one voice across multiple channels. I think that's something that we all struggle with today, but you really stress the importance of doing that in today's cluttered marketplace. We have a few questions that have come in, and I would encourage others, if they have questions, to please use the chat box, and we'll address your questions. We have a question from Kate about how do you really measure the impact of direct mail? You've shared several examples saying that there was an increase in response by 20% or 25%. How exactly was that measured, and what are some ways to measure and track the response or impact of direct mail?
Oh, Kate, thanks so much for asking that question. That is such a great question. First of all, one of the things we use are codes, tracking codes. And give people a reason to give you the code. If you look at almost any catalog you receive, they'll say use this code to get free shipping, or use this code in order to take advantage of this offer. So codes are very, very important. Now, not everyone will use codes, so we won't get all of the responses that way. But one of the things that you can do is match back against the audience that you sent the direct mail to. Look at their business over that time frame, so you can tell whether or not it increased. And maybe they didn't use the code, but during that time frame of the promotion, that those responses came in. So, tracking is very important. Build codes into your tracking. Fail-safe is something like a personal URL. I know everyone that went to it. Another fail-safe is if I have a unique phone number where I answer those calls. So, there's different ways that we can get that, but we've got to plan our tracking up front, or we do compromise the ability to track it in the back end.
Great. Thank you. Speaking of tracking, we have a question from Sarah related to QR codes and whether or not those help with tracking and what your overall thoughts are about using QR codes.
Okay, QR codes. Let me make a little bit of an umbrella statement about them. The theory, obviously, behind QR codes is that you use your mobile phone and you use your smartphone with an app to scan them, and it links you directly to the landing page. And in theory, that's great. Right now, not everyone has a smartphone. So what we start to do is eliminate those audiences that don't have a smartphone if that's the only technique we use. So whenever you use a QR code, give them another response option too. Always give them a second response option. Don't just give them the one. We also find that the use of QR codes actually skews quite a bit younger. So how old is your audience? If your audience is in their 50s and 60s, I'm not sure that's going to be a major performer. But if you think that a QR code adds value to your promotion, streamlining the response device, it will with some audiences, but just make sure it's not the only response device you use.
Great, thank you. We have quite a few questions coming in about offers. Specifically how to come up with the right offer, in particular for kind of B2B organizations, or even on the B2C side, something like a not-for-profit school trying to attract new students.
Okay, but let me start with the concept of the types of offers that I really love. The offers that make a huge impact in terms of the quality of the lead you get, as well as the uniqueness of what you can provide, are often information-based. If you look at H&R Block, they're going to give you a free second look. Okay, a free second look is basically information. It's actually sampling their product. So if I'm a school, can I give you an assessment of your students' needs? Can I help you chart a path? What are the things that I can do that really represent, what I'm going to do? Now, information webinars, information white papers, case histories. People love to know in business to business how they can make themselves more certain of the decisions that they make. So showing them what other people like them do and customizing it to their niche is going to be really powerful. So I love information. I've always loved information. When I use gifts or any type of incentive like that, I make sure it's tied directly to my product, just like those bypass pruners tied to the nursery. I want to make sure that any incentive, if it's a sweepstakes or prize drawing or anything, that people are responding because they like my product and service, rather than they're just those people that jump onto every sweepstakes promotion going. Now, how do you come up with them? There's a ton of available research online. You can take a look at what most industries are using. Don't hesitate to Google it. There's a lot of award-winning campaigns. Some of the examples that I've shown you have won what are called the ECHO Awards, which is an international competition of direct marketing. And if you Google that, you can take a look at it. The main thing is to try to figure out what your customer prospect would love and couldn't get on their own. What can you provide them with, and use it as bait. Always think of it as bait. Different bait attracts different audiences.
Great. That's great. We have some additional questions that talk about or questioning kind of frequency and how many times you really need to touch or use a certain mail list to generate response.
Oh, that's great. That's a great question. It's not that the number 2 is magic or the number 4 is magic. It's a return on investment basis. One of the things that we often said is, the more times we promote, the more revenue we get. But there's going to be a sliding scale there. With my customers, I can promote to them more frequently than perhaps to suspect lists, those lists that we go out and rent. So what I have to do is look at what is the response that I'm getting. So response drives the answer to that question.
Great. We have several questions coming in about data in lists and how do you find the right list? How do you know that you've gotten the right list? How can you maybe afford some of these targeted lists that you've mentioned?
Well, I'm going to let you answer part of this question, Jessica, but let me just say one thing. Testing is the only way to know if the list is going to work for you. All lists may sound good, but the key is to test. So limit your risk, and that's the number 1 rule, is limit your risk first, test first, and then roll out a larger quantity. The main thing is also to have some expertise or guidance in terms of people helping you in terms of picking out these lists. When we look at data, I never focus first on what the list costs. And I know that sounds crazy to people that are thinking that that's maybe not a frugal thing to do. But one thing that I found is that a low-cost list, even a free list, may not be of value to you if you get no response from it. And you have this dedicated cost for promotion. So if a list costs you 10 cents a name, that may be money very well spent if you get a great response from it. So don't make cost your first decision factor. The way list prices are established, it's what the market will bear. So lists that tend to perform better tend to carry a higher price. Now, I know that sounds a little crazy, but it's what the market will bear. And so if there's a lot of demand for a list from mailers, that list may cost more. And that's actually telling you something that might be positive. So make sure that you test the list to be sure. Jessica, if you have anything you'd like to add to that.
Right, and in terms of the resources or where you can get these types of targeted lists, there are obviously lots of different types of compilers or brokers out there. But the local Allegra, Insty-Prints, and American Speedy Printing Centers do have access to these very targeted lists that would allow our customers to really get to the right types of people through these direct marketing campaigns. So, of course, we would recommend starting with these local partners. Looks like we're kind of getting right up to our 2 o'clock time frame here. So I would like to end by saying thank you so much to Beth Smith for all of her insights and sharing her expertise with all of you that were on the call today. I'd also encourage you to work with your local Allegra, Insty-Prints, or American Speedy Printing Center provider. If you're unsure of the one that's closest to you, you can go to the website, allegranetwork.com, and use the locator to find your nearest partner. Also wanted to remind you that the recorded session of today's webinar will be available on allegranetwork.com's website under the Resources tab within 24 hours. So by tomorrow, you'll be able to go to the website, click on the Resources tab, and view not only the slides, but also the audio of today's session. So again, thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you've gained some great insights from our expert speaker, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.